There's tourists, there's cappuccino, there's people going to brand new jobs. That is the shape of a British recovery, and if it goes on, George Osborne suddenly has a problem that's quite nice to have, just before an election. There are some parts of Britain where all you see now is construction, new businesses, people making journeys they wouldn't have made before. And economists call that growth. The problem is, the old austerity plans were all based on the idea there wasn't much of that around. On the concourse at St Pancras, the micro story of Britain's 2.5% growth, Sean and Gabriel, a pop-up coffee stall and a business that's booming.
The area is just incredible now. More businesses here. Obviously Centre St Martin's has been here for a while, but that has helped us massively. And as this area grows and develops, it's only going to be positive for our business.
Stories like that lead one group of economists to say we've massively underestimated how much growth could be coming down the line.
If you think about the labour supply, we've got a lot of people coming into the economy through migration, older people working longer. You've also got businesses investing at a very rapid rate as well. So both of those are growing very rapidly. And I think certainly when you look around you, you look at what's happening here and you look at particularly at the IT sector, it doesn't feel like an economy that's forgotten how to become productive.
If he's right, next week the Chancellor could be singing a whole different song, and it's all about something called the output gap. I'm headed for a place only 20 minutes away by high-speed train that's been badly hit in the years since 2008. What we're looking for is the gap between growth now and what is possible. One way to think about the output gap is empty seats on a train. How many more people would have to get on here until you needed a longer train? Well, on this one, mid-morning, from St Pancras to Gravesend, there's only 17% of the seats occupied, so plenty of room for growth. The government's experts think the output gap is just 0.6% of GDP. That means to put the public finances into surplus, as the Conservatives want, you would need 92 billion more of tax rises or spending cuts. But if the output gap is 4.2%, as some economists think, the Conservatives would only need 44 billion of austerity, and to achieve Labour's target, zero. Yes, zero. If there's one place that could do with less austerity, it is Gravesend. It scores high on the deprivation index, plus its local council faced cuts of 41% when the coalition government came in. But its high migrant population is testimony to the jobs recovery, and the high street looks a lot livelier than it did in the depths of the recession. So what should the government do if it suddenly discovers that public spending could be cut less? Cue an economist from a very conservative think tank.
We do need to shrink the state to some extent, but the focus shouldn't be on shrinking the state. The state needs to do certain things to protect its citizens. It needs to provide justice. It needs to provide police services. The focus should be on shrinking the deficit, and by shrinking the deficit, we can move certain services into the private sector.
George Osborne wants Britain to run a permanent surplus. The price would be shrinking the state to a size last seen in the 1930s. But in next week's budget, he may get the chance to scale back some of the planned cuts. On the Thames estuary, the capacity of its container ports is about to double. Much of the new capacity is unused, but that's good when it comes to austerity. It's investment like this that is changing the debate. For much of this Parliament, politics has been about austerity, how much and how far into the future. But if the Treasury's economists can be convinced that Britain's economy is motoring, then the gap in politics opens up even more. Because what do you do with the upside? Well, we'll find out what the helmsman at the Treasury intends to do next Wednesday.